Well, I just want to see you strip right now, 'cause it's late and I just want to see you. Yeah, baby girl, get it. 'Cause I just want to see you. You're sexy. Got your sexy. What's going on, y'all? Happy hump day, Wildin' Out Wednesdays. Me and Billy Penn sitting chilling with you this night on our prime time edition of your boy the Cartender. So, I was looking at something, and because it's for all of us, we have to at certain points in life take accountability. Does that mean that we're always right? No. Does that mean that we're always wrong? No. But as I've talked about before, life usually isn't always about that. It's about the results, and the results typically determine and show possibly how accountable you've been. So let me give you, for instance, like if your kids really don't bang with you at a certain age, sometimes you got to look inside of yourself and say, what didn't I do at a certain point in my life with them that has them acting like that towards me? Now, sometimes, there's not anything that you can do, but you have to always look within and say, hey, am I doing the best I can do? So I was watching this interview with Kevin McCall, and that was part of the song that I was singing, which was Stripped by Chris Brown. He's from LA, I believe, or the California area, and he used to write on a lot of Chris Brown songs. So Strip, this other song called I'm in my deuces, chucking my deuces up. He had that one. I think he said he wrote something on the Busta Rhymes and Chris Brown song where Busta was like, whatever that was. Look at me now. Look at me now. So, but what he did was he got on a podcast a couple of days ago, and I think it's called Back on Fig. Shout out to those guys from out LA. And he was just talking about stuff, and I really felt for the guy because, he's sitting there. I believe he's in his 30s now. And, he hasn't done anything really since the issues he had with Chris Brown, where he was at one point, I think about 7 or 8 years ago, he was doing interviews threatening Chris Brown and just basically saying, hey, like, look, you owe me money for this, and why haven't I received any money for that? Then he claims at one point, I think that he sold his publishing for a certain amount of money, but because of child support, I believe he has a child with Eva Marcel, the model, and then I think he has 2 kids altogether. But there's also been reports of him having fits of rage, where I think Eva, for whatever reason, didn't really want him to have him around the child, or he was. Because I don't want to mislead, but he was, you can look it up as I always tell you, but he was having some issues with Eva at the time. So, as usual, how do we relate it back to what we have going on? And I talk a lot, especially to a lot of single mothers, just different people who are in the process of and who have, been raising kids. And as single mothers. And so, a lot of times things come up as far as accountability is concerned. And I think the first thing, and the reason why accountability is so hard for people, even in the case of this gentleman, Kevin McCall, is because when the results don't match what you want, it's not going to feel good. And as time goes along, sometimes it feels even worse. So those things that you may not have done when you had the chance to do them, or when you felt like you should have done them, you don't get them done. So you feel a sense of regret. And usually people who will feel that, typically, because I know I've been there before, you feel it, and you hopefully can do something about it to make sure that you don't get yourself in that position again. Because you stop and you take accountability. And you say, hey, listen, I made these mistakes. Whether they were conscious or just like I made these conscious mistakes or missteps in my life. And ultimately, your life will dictate if those missteps have kept you on a path of not being great or not being as good as you can be. And I've talked about this before, some of those things. I know one thing for me is just procrastination. Even to this day, still struggle with it. You want to have better time awareness. I typically am on time. I do try to do that. But, just trying to constantly force yourself to do things, sometimes even if you don't want to do it. Like I made one video a while ago called No Waiting for Motivation. Because sometimes, like we all do, we all at times get motivated. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to hit it. I'm about to go to the gym. I'm about to go do this. I'm about to go do that. And you might do it for a couple of days. But then once that motivation subsides, then what do you have? So the big thing is that with any of this, you want to continue to do stuff even when you're not motivated to do it. You want to do it because it becomes a part of your daily regimen. And accountability for a lot of people has to start becoming a part of their daily regimen, where you take accountability for what's going on with you. You take accountability, because I used to sell cars. Let me give you something. Let's just look at it like this for cars. So overnight, while your car is still sitting, so sometimes you know how you'd be like, dang, how did my battery go dead? Or because what happens is that over time at night, your car, the computer is still running. It's still circulating. It's still working all night long, 24 hours a day while the car is plugged in. So not only, because think about it, for most of us now who have cars, it'll have a digital clock. It'll have this, it'll have that. So navigation, all that other kind of stuff. So if you notice when you first turn your car on, it'll tell you, it'll say, hey, it's 6:50 in the morning. It's such and such. And that is because your car is constantly checking itself all night long, 24 hours a day. And that is how we have to start being as far as our accountability. Now, sometimes what happens is that you won't have to, worry about your accountability or what you should be accountable for because, you're doing the right stuff and everything. So at that moment, it may not be a big deal. But just like anything else, right around the corner for all of us is adversity. Right around the corner for all of us could be potential trouble. Right around the corner for all of us could be a headache that we don't want to deal with. Believe me, I've been dealing with it now for the last few weeks. But the thing is that you still have to find a way to overcome it and still be accountable. Just because I'm upset about a situation or I'm worried about this or worried about that, that don't mean that, I still got to shirk my responsibilities. It doesn't mean that I get a chance to just take off and not deal with it. Because, see, that's the problem with a lot of our problems. When we don't take care of them, they go like this. One problem on top of the other problem, on top of the other problem, on top of the other problem, on top of the other problem. Now we can't even see where we're going. You dig me? You can't even see your eyes anymore. Because you've let your being unaccountable turn into this mess. And like I said, I've been there before. You say, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm going to pay that bill next week. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do this next week. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that next month. And then next thing you know, you get a shut-off notice. This isn't a shut-off notice. This is Sirius XM, But anyway, you get a shut-off notice. And you didn't get a shut-off notice just out of nowhere. You got a shut-off notice because you are delinquent on them ends. You have waited month after month after month to do stuff. So just compound that with people. Where people have done stuff and they've waited year after year after year to do things. And like I always say, it's one bad thing when you do stuff to mess up yourself. But it's another thing when you start doing stuff that messes up other people. That start to where you feel like you have to berate or put down other people. Because you have had a lack of your own accountability. And in your head, I get it. We all do it. We're human. Everybody wants to blame somebody for something. Oh, I didn't get a chance to do this because this person promised me that they were going to do that. Oh, I didn't get a chance to do this because this person promised me that they were going to do that. We all got a sad song. But we're all not being accountable. And you know what a part of accountability is? And I've said this over and over again. It's having a good support system. Having good friends. Having people that will keep you honest. Having people that will say to you, hey, dog, listen, I know you're upset right now, but, you know, maybe you should think about handling it this way. Maybe you should just look at it that way. Because I'm going to tell you, I've seen a lot of people who don't have anybody who's accountable to them. And unfortunately, I had to say it, a lot of times, you know, I've experienced it from women. Where they some of them don't have any accountability. Why? Because first of all, they don't have anybody telling them like, hey, listen, you know, and some women have a problem with listening and saying, hey, the same thing like with guys have a problem with listening and saying, hey, because see, the thing is, what accountability is with men, most times, depending on things, your lack of accountability can get you killed. Your lack of accountability can get you put in jail. Your lack of accountability can get you beat up. Your lack of accountability can have you looking like a guy who people don't respect your word. So accountability for men and women, although the same, sometimes comes in different forms. So here we have Kevin McCall, and once again, if you check it out, it's called the podcast is back on Fig, and I mean he pulls out an EBT card, he's crying, he got snot coming out his nose, you know, and I really felt bad for the brother because it was a bad look, and he is a talented dude. He can rap, I think he can sing, he can write, all of that stuff, but he hasn't done any of it in years. So what that does is say, okay, Chris Brown might have effed you over, but what have you done lately? What have you done to make your situation a better situation for you or for your kids? What repentance have you done? What follow-ups have you done? What therapy, what counseling have you done? And that goes for any of us. What have we done to make ourselves better people, to be more accountable people, to be accountable early so that way it's not an issue later? Because you see, a lot of times that's what it is that some of us make roads harder for ourselves because we did not take accountability early. And we put it off on somebody else. We did this. And like I said, when I talk to you, I talk from experience. Because we all have done it. It just depends on to varying degrees of levels of doing it. But hopefully, people like him, other people who may not be as successful as him, or popular at the one time that he was, say, hey, listen, everything isn't pie in the sky. I'm going to take more accountability for I am going to do better things for me, which in turn will make things better for the community. Because the thing is that as everybody gets old or older, you don't just have accountability to your kids or to your parents or to your siblings or to your close friends. You have an obligation to a community to be a better person, to be an accountable person, to be a person that shows other people how to be better and be more accountable. So, and supposedly Young Thug reached out to him and said that, he's willing to help him after, what he saw. So Who knows as far as that? But if he does get a second chance, I hope that he's more accountable, and I hope that he tries to take whatever skills and talents that he still has and do the right thing with them. So the moral of the story is that always do self-inventory to see if you're being accountable, to see if you're doing things what would be considered the right way. And while you're doing it, I'm trying to think, because I think you already know. If you watched enough of these, you kind of know what I'm going to say next. What you think I'm going to say? Come on, let me hear it. Come on, Carl, Ray, Jake, some of the other guys, Kev, Cuzzo. You know it. Live life. Don't let life live you.